Hello, everyone. Welcome to Once Upon a Time in Black History. My name is Tamara Shotlow, and I will be your host. Today, I bring you the Silent Parade. It will never cease to amaze me how events like this were kept from the history books. Oh, well. So as you know, the 1950s and 60s, they were the height of the civil rights movement. The end of the Civil War symbolized the determination to abolish slavery. Yet, discrimination was business as usual. African Americans, along with the support from many of their white colleagues, mobilized and began an unprecedented journey for equality. They were doing whatever it took to leverage movements, boycotts, and marches to elevate their voices. Among these events was the famous Silent Parade. This was an anti-lynching protest, served as a significant part of the movement, all without words. This was a demonstration that was organized by the NAACP. About 10,000 people gathered in New York City on July 28, 1917, to march in silence down Fifth Avenue to Madison Square. The event was organized to protest violence directed toward African Americans, like the lynchings that had taken place in Waco, Texas, and Memphis, Tennessee. What triggered the idea of this type of parade was the East St. Louis riots in May and July of 1917. About 40 black people, men, women, and children, were killed by white mobs. The violence, in part, was touched off by a labor dispute where blacks were used for strike breaking. Okay, really? The brainstorming to protest the riots began with James Weldon Johnson, the NAA's field secretary, and, if you remember, the author of Lift Every Voice and Sing, when he began working with a group of influential community leaders from St. Philip's Church in New York City. However, the actual idea of a silent protest had first been suggested by Oswald Garrison Billard during a 1916 NAACP conference. Black women in New York had also participated in earlier silent parades with white women, like the 1917 parade in support of the Red Cross. Now, Billard's mother, Fanny Garrison Billard, had organized a silent march for suffragettes in New York City in 1913. However, for this protest, organizers felt that it was important that only black people participate because they were the main victims of the recent violence. So, marching in front were women and children dressed in white, which symbolized innocence in the midst of the country's racism. In the back, the men were dressed in dark suits to represent mourning and their willpower to fight for their rights. Protesters demanded President Woodrow Wilson, who was president at the time, to take action to protect the rights and livelihood of African Americans. They carried signs that read, "Thou shalt not kill," "Your hands are full of blood," and "Mothers, do lynchers go to heaven?" During the parade, white folks stopped to listen to blacks explain the reason for the march. Some of the white bystanders expressed support and sympathy. The parade was the first large black-only protest parade in New York City. The New York Age newspaper described the event as mute but solemn protests against the atrocities and discrimination practiced against the race in various parts of the country. They hoped that around 10,000 people would be able to participate and that African Americans in other cities might hold their own parades. Now imagine that.